Hey, welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles. This is Shop Talk Tuesday. Welcome to Shop Talk Tuesday. If it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, well, it's Shop Talk Tuesday, where we bring a community of actually bike mechanics, bike shop owners, as well as you as an enthusiast cyclist getting into or already been into the cycling community. Well, welcome. And again, if today is Tuesday, it is Shop Talk Tuesday. You will see me in the office today because it is like 9 degrees Fahrenheit and the garage is a little cold. Yes, I'm a garage shop guy. So instead of cranking that heater and popping the breakers, I figured I'd sit in the actually office and keep a little bit warmer so I'm not like chattering the whole time. But in any case, well, we're going to do a little B-roll, and we're also going to be talking about today two main topics. But before that, we're going to talk about our local sponsors. Our local sponsors. I've just launched. This is basically a shameless shameless plug on my behalf of the Learning Center. Has just been opened up on my website on I Know a Guy Bicycles. The Learning Center is a starting platform of basically a collaboration of videos of how to work on bikes, videos I've already done on this particular channel, in addition to other tech tips and blogs. So therefore, that has a place to live and actually more of a community feel on my website itself. So that is one of the sponsors of today, the Learning Center from I Know a Guy Bicycles. The second sponsor we're going to have is, hold on here. Well, and again, thank you for joining me on Shop Talk Tuesday. If you're watching this on replay, please put comments below if you have anything to chime in or what have you. All right. The other sponsor is going to be This Whole Bike. It's the second channel from I Know a Guy Bicycles, just listing basically old bikes 10 years and older and videos of working on them and reviews, also as well as tools and articles of the past, basically based on This Old Bike. Needed its own living space, so that's where I'm shifting everything from I Know a Guy Bicycles over to This Old Bike, as in the older content. No worry, we're going to still have Shop Talk Tuesdays here on I Know a Guy Bicycles, as well as newer developments of the industry, in addition to newer tools and bikes and so forth. So therefore, we got a divided line between two different, communities. You can love both of them, hate one or other. In any case, it gives you another place to hang out. And on that platform, there's not going to be any really industry talk in a sense, unless it's historical. Well, thank you for joining us. Well, again, it is Tuesday, Shop Talk Tuesday. Thank you so much for hanging out with the guy. Today's topic, very interesting one indeed. And it's one that pretty much every bike shop pretty much thinks about throughout the whole season. And I coined it as winter, but it's really just off season, because bike shops around the world will, depending on their climate, environment, what have you, they have an off season. Well, most of them do. Within having those off seasons, you have an opportunity to basically look into what have you done well, what can be improved upon, and what would you like to branch out and do better. And this also bleeds over to your cycling community, where those particular individuals that you're great customers of those who ride in your community or build up the community are doing the kind of the same thing, but they're not thinking about it in the moment in the season as you are, because you're writing a list on a clipboard going, this is the thing I should be doing in January. This is what I need to do in February, and that kind of thing. It's one of those things that if you're not doing that, you should, because memory is horrible, right? It's short term. It's one of those things that like, oh, what was that one thing I wanted to do in January? Or and you remember it's in March and you're already into the season or don't have time to implement it or actually put forward in energy into those. So in any case, thanks for hanging out with me. If you have any questions or anything along the ways or any insights of you, please throw in the chat. I'm just going to put a little welcome there just to get us going. All right. Again, thanks for hanging out with me. And my last sponsor, if you already heard my two sponsors, Shameless Plugs, is actually the best sponsor at all, which is you. You're the one that makes this channel what it is today. And thank you all for watching and chiming in and being part of this community. It's one of those things that we really kind of I never thought I would be doing something like this. So I'm giving a heart applause to all of you for basically watching me struggle all the way to where I am today, which is still a struggle. But in any case, that's where the cycling industry has put me. In any case, thanks again for talking, watching, and all those things. Well, the first topic I want to hit is let's see how far we into this. About 5 minutes. All right. It's basically we're focusing on cyclists first before the bike shop. We're going to leave the cliffhanger for the bike shop portion later into this. So, reason being is, I would say, the cyclists are what actually make bike shops. I know this sounds kind of weird, right? I mean, you think you got to have the chicken before the egg before the chicken. I don't know, whoever created the chicken first, whatever. You got to have horse before the cart kind of deal. You got to have a community there that has a need for bike shops to even exist or thrive. So I believe the actual the importance of the cycling community and riders, just enthusiasts that may even know how to work on bikes, barely even know how to shift, but they're out there having a great time. That's a community that a lot of us usually started from. And a lot of us need to remember and go back, and that's where we all started from. So we're going to embrace that. Two Wheel Warrior, thank you for joining us. Thank you. You're on lunch, so you must be on the East Coast. Welcome. Thank you for coming and joining in. And today we're going to talk about customers. We're going to talk about bike shops and what the hell we do in the wintertime, which is a lot of thinking and a lot of wishing it was warmer weather. In my neck of the woods, I was lucky. Last week we had 3 days we're in the 60s. And with that 3 days being in the 60s, I did go for a ride. Horrible headwinds, but a wonderful tailwind. So it tip for tap, right? It goes for one with the other. For me, it's really just to stretch those legs out and get kind of, keep those legs going, keep my heart rate up, that kind of thing. It's really easy to get stagnant in the winter time, especially after the holidays and trying to find that time and what have you. So the first topic that I'm going to go over under customers is basically riding in the winter time. How do you adapt to that, right? I mean, there's a lot of things going on with that for sure. But in any case, well, while we start with that first one, I'm just going to throw in our beautiful B-roll. So if you guys are watching, at least you have something other than my bobbling head, like a bobblehead, to watch. So I have a couple newer B-rolls, which are very project I'm working on currently. So we will add that to our list here. In any case, we'll make it a little bit bigger. How about that? Too big? There we go. Something to look at. This is the Lightspeed I'm taking apart, working on. We're going to do a whole part swap type thing. Pretty cool. So, but anyway, this is kind of let's make it about even. So therefore, all right. So looking at winter riding, well, what does riding entail for the customer? And well, how does it affect the bike shop? Well, riding with the customer, sometimes it's including clothing, lots of clothing. If you're up further north than I am, into the Canadian winters, yeah, you're wearing a lot of layers. Maybe there's a cycling community that really is really an eye-opener for me. It was like Michigan had a huge cycling community for the wintertime. Reason being is they had nothing else better to do. So fat bikes were huge, and it did a lot of crusty riding in snow. And the shop I worked at, Wheels of Motion at the time, had they still do, I believe, the worst day of the year ride, which I think is in either late January, early February. I had the pleasure of hanging out at one of those, and it was actually pretty cool. Reason being is that's cool is the turnout was freaking amazing. There was so many people that showed up to do this ride, and it snowed, and they had several different courses all laid out. There's a lot of preparation to put into this. So for the bike shop, that was kind of a big kind of keeping connected with community, in addition to providing a good, thing for their staff to look forward to doing. And also it was a lot of fun for the local riders to do it. So they had like a gravel ride, a road ride, and they had a shut down one because it was snowing too much. And at the end, the owners had basically ended up at a brewery or pub or restaurant, and then they had chili and you can get your beverages. And it was a good morning thing on a Sunday, if I believe or remember. Dwight, shout out to you for doing this and keeping the family tradition going. And his son Travis is taking over the reins, and now they have like 3 shops and doing great. That's awesome. I mean, those are one of the things that, for cycling winter, you may have those events in areas. If not, you might be doing the spin classes. You might have the Highway to Nowhere. You may have the Smart Trainer. If you're really getting into the cycling or never just started in cycling and not knowing what to get into, your local shops and also the communities and the cycling clubs will help you figure out what layer of clothing and so forth that you need if you want to ride outside, in addition to what you want to utilize inside the shop. Where that really helps the bike shops in the sense, because even though winter sales are not huge for bike shops, it still helps some shops keep the lights on and keep going. So keeping in mind of winter riding, you got to be careful of frostbite and all that kind of stuff, and prepping a bike for that kind of riding, where there eludes like tune-ups and that kind of things and what have you. But in any case, so that's the one of 5 pieces of the cycling community in the winter that's reflected. Levi, thank you for joining. Wheels in Motion guys are cool. Yeah. Oh, okay. You're down in Toledo. Cool. The AA cycling scene. Yeah, the Ann Arbor cycling scene is huge. If prior to working at the Wheels in Motion, now this is a good fitting because winters in Michigan, as you probably know, Levi, suck. It's gray. It's the snow accumulates. It's not I don't know. Some people love it. Whatever the case may be, but it was very interesting to see how that community at first was so huge in cycling clubs like the Ann Arbor Cycling Club, and they had like another 5 or 10 different clubs, teams, and just the Ann Arbor. And Ann Arbor, as you may or not know, is a college town. If you're watching this overseas, it's a big university, University of Michigan, something like that. One of the biggest stadiums that holds as many kids to watch football, that kind of thing. So it's a huge community for cycling for sure. And Wheels of Motion have been affiliated with Ann Arbor Cycling Club for like decades, and Wheels of Motion's been they're on their 3rd generation of running a shop. So they've really embraced their environment, and they've expanded to a few stores. They're a big Trek dealer, so that kind of thing. And their main competition, I don't know if they're still there or not, but there was a big Specialized dealer. There was one that was called Two Wheel Tango, which was a cool name. Unfortunately, they went under. And Razor, I don't know, Fraser's, maybe it was Fraser's. It's one of the competitions that came in with primary Specialized. So it is a battleground town for cycling bike shops. You think it would be as popular and crazy like Boulder, Colorado, where it's a bike shop on almost every corner. Not as many bike shops, not as many like bike paths, but there's a ton of riding. So just kind of crazy. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Levi. I totally forgot about the Ann Arbor Cycling Club for sure. Yeah, they they had group fat bike rides, fat tire rides, not fat rides. I mean, I don't know. You can't tell they're all layered up, right? It's like one of those things. But in any case, the one topic, Cyclists. If you're just joining us, I'm going over the cyclist point of view of winter. Then I'm going to dive into the bike shop point of view. What maybe some gold nuggets. If you work in a bike shop, if you probably already know or have done, or just want to remind you of this might be something. This is the time to do it if it is your off season. In any case, back to the cycling. The second conversation would be, I would say, let's say indoor trainer. Let me just do a timestamp here so I can make sure I do this right. So indoor trainers are known to be the highway to nowhere. You can do the rear wheel, you can do the rollers, you can do the smart trainers. There's all these different apps you can utilize to make it not so boring, what have you. But quite honestly, if you're just getting the cycling and just want to do a little bit of riding and keep your legs a little fresh, it's like 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 30 minutes. Just have the thing already pre-set up, jump on it, break a sweat, get your cardio up. I just went to the doctor's, got a physical. That's what they told me, is like, just get on it like 3-4 times a week for 30 minutes, and they'll help you get through the winter physiological cholesterol building time for me, cholesterol and sugar bag habits time. So indoor training is something that a lot of people leverage, has been around. Is it a big seller for bike shops? It really hasn't been, but the Wahoo kicker, the smart trainer, that kind of kicked it off, no pun intended, back in the day, where it's a little bit more feasible. But a lot of people venture off and they do those pump type classes, spin classes, where I've actually gotten a few customers from there. Reason being is that's all they did. And then when we wanted to go outside, and they bought a couple bikes for me, or had me a couple bikes of theirs, and before you know it, they're huge avid cyclists. So there's if a bike shop was going to leverage that, that might be a pool of individuals to start off to tap into. I've worked in shops when they try to do that themselves inside the shop, move bikes off the floor and put in trainers. It's a lot to do. Some shops still do that, and they can leverage it sometimes. I don't think it's a really big moneymaker in that sense to keep it going. But if you feel like you can do that or leverage that within your community and cycling club, or what have you, that can really, really help out for sure. But yeah, indoor trainers, it's like the highway to nowhere. It's like a must need do if you want to do a lot of riding. If you do like big charity rides you're trying to prepare for, or if you're an avid or a novice sports rider, like if you do like the triathlons or just local gravel ride races type things and just want to have fun, that's what you do. If you're a pro, you know what you're doing. That kind of thing. But if you're just getting into it, or you've been doing it, comment saying if there's any tricks that help you keep your legs fresh besides going to the other side of the equator, which a lot of us wish we could, but just don't have the funding to do so. Derek, thank you for joining us. Yeah, from Cincinnati. Yeah. You work for a Trek. Nice. I was in Dublin store last. Oh, you were in Dublin too. Yeah, 9 stores closed in Columbus last year. Yeah, stores are, unfortunately, we're in that kind of trend. With Wahoo, not sure. They have legit nothing in stock. Either they're selling down. Yeah, that's usually a kind of Derek. You got a really good point about trainers or inventory when you see depletions. The biggest one recently was the Pros Closet. When they were going out, they didn't really announce anything until it was almost done. So when they did announce it and you went to their website, there was nothing really left of all their massive inventory they used to have. So not sure. They bought Speedplay pedals a couple years back. That'd be interesting to keep a pulse and see. Maybe they did a wonderful year and sold through everything. No, highly unlikely for sure. But yeah, that's a good one to keep an eye on in Wahoo. I mean, they were one of the leaders in the smart trainers, and I hate to see them go away. Any case. All right, Levi. Yeah, Roll had 5 locations, went under. Sad. I just hate seeing shops go under. It's just, I mean, obviously it really pulls at my heartstrings for sure. That leaves a lot of the community struggling as well. Unfortunately, a lot of it's based on rent. If they didn't leverage owning the building, even then they can go under as well. Cirrus has and Elite has some really good trainers too. There's a lot of different brands. I'm not saying Wahoo's the end all be all. I mean, but not even close. I mean, there's so many different trainers out there. And I think Swift, you can use any of them just to kind of keep your mind from going bonkers when you're on trainers, for sure. The Speedplay pedals are out of stock. Huh. all the depleting. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, you guys have heard of Stages, right? Well, Stages was here locally. They had a lot of their stuff built overseas, of course, but they were like that power meter company that, was pretty popular amongst more upper end riders that wanted to spend a lot of money for the power meters, and they went down abruptly, and they were power played by Giant. They pushed them to bankruptcy. Then they basically bought the name and stuff like that. So that was kind of a big old D move on their part. So who knows? Well, either Wahoo is having struggling or going under. But Wahoo has such a big name. I would say if they had to go through a struggle period like that, it would be an acquisition somehow. Hopefully not in the point of where they were basically somebody steals the name from them, but big business is big business. I mean, hopefully there's a company out there. I don't know who would have money right now to buy anything, and be comfortable and confident about running a different department on top of what we're facing in the state of the state. So, hey, who knows? But in any case, Derek, what was like? Yeah. Oh, why do they lose the frog? I don't know. I haven't really, I really haven't been keeping up with speed play or what Wahoo's done with speed play. The frog pedals were kind of cool, but maybe they just weren't a big seller in any case. But yeah, the highway to nowhere, for those who are not in shops and you got a trainer and you're doing a wheel resistant trainer that rubs up against your rear wheel, you need to switch out your tire to a trainer tire, which is a harder compound, which is not designed to ride on road whatsoever. That's a safety thing. And also they'll cut down flats on your trainer, as well as wearing out those new $50 to $100, $200 tires that you usually do on pavement. So you definitely want to invest in that $50 trainer tire. The second thing for trainers for indoors, put a towel or do the bra thing over all your bike frame. Don't sweat on your bike like you do. Outside, you don't sweat as much. I mean, you sweat a lot, but it usually evaporates. When you're indoor clam baking in the basement, oh, that's a tongue twister. You're just drenching your bike with sweat, which is highly corrosive and makes everything super uber duper nasty. So it'll destroy componentry without you even knowing it. Headsets I've had in times that we had to chop forks off just to clean it all out. And please, your mechanic does not want to ever see your bike crusted over with a layer of salt from you. That is the most disgusting thing ever, in any case. We wear gloves as it is, but we still have a U factor, and we don't want to go, ooh, as we working on your bike. So yeah, cover all that to protect your componentry and so forth. But other than that, sweat it out. Work all those things. In any case, any other chipper chappers about the? All right, still talking about frogs. All right. I don't love removing all the. Oh yeah, powder coat. I had one yesterday. I was working on this. Oh, this poor Le Mans. I mean, it's salted up. I mean, I can tell it's either been a trainer from hell or salt water, but most likely a trainer. When you do the top cap on the adjuster nut for the headset and you twist it, and there's this little poof of like white salt, body salt, you're like, oh, and you get into the headset and it's just like, go. Yeah, that's horrible. But yeah, I'm getting shivers just talking, just reminiscing about that. That's insane. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna go into yeah. All right. The next topic. All right, we're 23 into it. We're gonna talk about storage. Why is storage important and protecting? It all depends where you live, of course. This is just kind of like a side part kind of deal. Storage, if you live in an apartment, you put in your deck, cover it up, prevent that snow and stuff to get on it. If you're living anywhere there's a high salt and salty air, definitely want to put it indoors. Even within a shed, you can get, if it's not put away dry and that kind of thing. If you do go for a ride, it's really, in the winter, it's really hard. You got a mucky mess, what have you, and you need to try, especially if it's salt the roads like they do in Michigan. You want to get all that stuff off of there. Yeah, bike storage after a ride is just important. If you're storing it for off season, you want to get all that stuff off. Back to Michigan, Levi. I mean, telling you, that was eye opener that first winter working there. I only was there for 2 years, but the first winter I was working there, and the bikes that I worked on, it was like a corrosive mess because they just used straight salt on their roads, and it just ate bikes and cars and everything else. But the bike, I never seen so many rusted stuff. So that's where I learned a lot of prevention was huge. A lot of greasing bolts, a lot of prepping, a lot of waterproofing, and also when you're done with that ride, somehow rinse it off, even if it's just like a bucket of warm water before you put it inside or put it in the shed or whatever, just to get that gunk off of it. Obviously, your hoses are not going to be available to rinse off or power wash that off. But yeah, I mean, you want to do something to get that drivetrain, all that gunk that builds up on there, that will eat up your drivetrain and seize the holy hell out of everything. So that's one thing for sure, is a gold nugget there. If you have any other gold nuggets, throw it in the comments or in the chat or the comments below if you're watching this on the replay. So yeah, thanks for joining in. And if you're just joining me now, we're talking about two perspectives of what the hell we do in winter, as a customer perspective, and what we do think about doing and should be doing, and also the bike shop portion of it too. The second part, I'll be doing more of the bike shop perspective, because I'm going to rattle off a few things that I've done recently and as well as over the years to help promote the shop. And this is the gold nugget time for bike shops to prepare. So we'll get back to that here momentarily. But yeah, we're talking about storage and protection. A lot of bike shops, you can buy them on whatever covers, that kind of thing. That's a big investment. So you don't want to do that. What you can do, or you don't want that to get rusted out or destroyed just because you were too lazy to cover it up or what have you. And that's something that really will be costly down the road. I've seen and worked on, refurbished on a lot of bikes that, they've been outside a lot longer than they should, or they were ridden in really bad conditions with salt and that kind of thing, or they were destroyed in the trainer world where they were just dripped on from sweat. Any case, you want to protect that investment, because when it is nice out and you pull that bike out, you want it to be ready to go and hammer as best performance possible. That alludes to the tune-up portion of it, but we'll talk about that here shortly. Let's just dive into the tune-up portion here. For cyclists, a lot of people they ride their stuff. It's not just bikes. It's all recreational equipment, right? You snowboard and you just throw it in the shed and don't worry about it. You don't think about it until fall. The bike shops, though, like ski equipment, they put their machines away and all that. But in the winter, bike shops still have, this is a really great opportunity to get your bikes tuned up by more seasoned mechanics, because those are the ones that are going to be around still, not laid off or what have you. And they're going to have more time to work on those bikes, which is another huge piece of the puzzle here, because when you're looking at a bike that does 24-hour turnaround and they have only 3 mechanics, well, if they only have 2 bikes to be done or 3 bikes to be done that day, they're not going to be too rushed. But when you look at a bike shops in the summertime, when they have maybe even 5 or 6 mechanics, but they have 30 bikes that need to be done that day, that's going to be a hard pinch to get things done right, and take the time to do maybe a little extra love there. And some of the smaller individual shops will spend a little more time making, a little attention to detail. Go into do more to the bike, double check they do all the true wheeling and all that, but there's always a little bit more that you can do as a mechanic that when you're rushed, you kind of just skim that. So in any case, opportunity for those that are in the off season to leverage that. And also, price is one thing, sure, it's a little bit of a discount, but I think you get more of a value of a better work done, more than any kind of price discount. So don't be just tricked in about how cheap you can get that tune-up. Be be more mindful of what kind of quality of service you're going to be getting at that time of year is probably the better way to leverage it if you're the one that's, preparing. And then, what kind of if you're, let's just say, you're looking for a new bike or a new kind of ride or, different kind, you got into it and you want to do something different. Great opportunity to buy something used. And once you buy that used bike or what have you, then you can have that in the bike shop tune it up and they'll spend a little more extra time to get it, make you sure right. Or if you're doing certain events like triathlons or MS 150 or charity rides or anything like that, it's a good time to get those bikes all refreshed and ready to go. So when the weather is a little bit nicer, or looking at maybe that trainer bike, like get a trainer bike that goes on that trainer, something that, doesn't have to work the best, but it spins the wheels and keeps your legs going. So that's, this is a great opportunity time now where bike prices on the used market have dropped to ridiculously low. I mean, ridiculously low. So you can find something in decent shape, sub 500 and leverage it. And that could be mountain or road or whatever, but buy everywhere with suspension work and that kind of thing. Mountain bikes are going to be treated a little more differently than road bikes. So keep that in mind. And there's going to be a cost to that. So in any case, thanks, Derek. Thanks for chiming in. Appreciate it. Yeah. I try to make the channel, different than others. Like, I don't know, whatever. Trying to grow it, of course, is giving me a platform to reach out to all those that are circumference of the cycling community that we all love. Any case. All right. What else? Do we have any other? Yeah. Storage. Do you store? Oh, what did I store my ponytail? Wow, it got repurposed. I got recycled my hair. I actually donated for wigs for kids. That's where my ponytail is now residing. Hopefully help some kids out there. So in any case, yeah, thanks for chiming in there, Bicycle. Yeah, it got long enough. It was like, okay, it's driving me nuts. And I figured it was long enough to donate, and it's naturally curly crazy hair. So it probably did some wig maker is probably either hating me or loving the hair. I don't know. Well, in any case, sidebar on that. But yeah, back to tune-ups and bike shops. This is the time to get that tuned up. I mean, if it's in our neck of the woods, but if it's the off season, it's the best time to have that, or projects, or if you want to upgrade or do drivetrain upgrades or anything. If you want to have like protection of the bike, if you want to have it detailed with wax or what have you, that kind of thing. That's might be something to do, or to go with the wax chain systems. There's a lot of preparations you can do, and do multiple bikes too. It's a great opportunity to pick up another one, and parts are going to be fairly inexpensive parts too on the used market, which I've noticed, and they're starting to flood a little bit because that's just the state we're at. Yeah. Good. Credibility in my hair. Do you think I am like Hercules? No. I may grow back again while I have still hair to grow. I mean, it's not balding yet, but anyway. But I don't want to be too much like the other guy, that farmer guy, trying to delineate myself from. All right, tune-ups. That's also you can leverage tune-ups in the off season to get the more expensive tune-up for less too. But again, end of the day, you're getting better quality work done because they have time to work on it, usually, that kind of thing, and be able to vet those projects if you're going to do that. So that's where we're looking at on tune-ups. And for the last of the top 5 things for cyclists in the wintertime is dreaming and planning. Go get yourself that truck travel trip or, whatever. And this goes with bike shops too. I'm going to talk about that too in a little when we get into the bike shop portions. We're really on the cusp of this. So you bike shop people can start perking up, get your cup of coffee. This is the time to probably go take a leak or whatever. But in any case, planning for the next season. All right. So a lot of people that have gotten into cycling, I do have one customer already is already scheduled a tune-up to be done for a gravel race in March. So he wants the bike. He bought it used. He hasn't had me touch it yet. He has like bought all these parts. He's one of those customers that buys all the parts and stuff, which is fine. that's my business model. I'm like, you get whatever you want, and I'll charge you appropriately, not too much, and get you going and build that community. But in any case, he's already planning those rides, and that's where a lot of people, if they're just got into cycling or starting to think about it, there's a lot of those rides, like the MS Bike MS, and you have local community rides. You can go to your local bike shops, they'll have a list of them, or just hopefully they have a list within cycling clubs in your area, or have a list about different rides and so forth are coming up, or if you're maybe preparing yourself to do those big monster rides, you're going to travel somewhere and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of planning in those. Or if you want to do one of those, like the Trek Travel Adventure rides, do they still have Trek Travel? I know REI can theirs. So maybe not. I really haven't checked that. Anyway. So yeah. Ponytail power. I was using the ponytail power in one of my videos, but I don't know whether it caught on. In any case, now it's just like angry old man strength. In any case, back to planning. I mean, there's club rides, there are adventure rides. I think you're gonna see a lot more in this coming summer or season that you're going to be facing, if not already, more of the backpacking, adventure, gravel type riding, getting out. And I think that's still going to carry. The cost of traveling and stuff gets pretty expensive. So for here locally, we got the Rocky Mountains, and like, shoot, it'd be fun to take a weekend and just go ride around a backpack camp. And now we have that Starlink connection with our phones, and we can just text somebody if we fuck ourselves up somewhere and need help to get out. Anyway, that's where I think a lot of the customers may know that they can start planning those things, and there's an opportunity for bike shops to leverage their current customers on what they do during the season to do that. So we'll talk about that in a minute when we get to the bike shop portion of it. But yeah, planning. I mean, a lot of my customers, they do have like family trips. They do have events that are specifically to bikes. There's Sea Otter. People like to do that, or want to do that. Or, I highly recommend you vet out something. If you're just a cyclist getting into it, something that's out of your comfort zone and something different, just to try. Even if it's like a gravel ride race type thing, and like an hour or two away, or different kind of club rides. Or for me, I'm going to push my envelope, and so next time I'm in Vegas, I'm going to try to hop on to Pedal and Pours club rides that they have, or not club, but they're they have a no drop ride. That's the one I'm going to be on. I don't know if the racer one, but they have a no drop ride weekly. So I'm going to join one of their rides when I'm out there next time, if I can, if I'm not too hungover, to do that. So even I have rides that I've planned to do and be a part of, not just bike shows and interviews and events, but that's the bike shop portion of me. But I need to push myself to do some of those particular events too, like the gravel rides and so forth. We have one up. It's this Friday in Fort Collins, Colorado, where it's a bike to work day in winter, the winter version of it. And I kicked around of thinking about it. I just saw it this morning. I was like, it's one of those things that I don't notice it until like a day before, if not the same day. I don't know, just so busy doing other things. And it's this coming Friday. And I noticed that the reason why I noticed is like Niner is plugged, and they're going to have a rest stop, which is going to be a warmed rest stop. And Trek Bikes is going to have one of their locations, and InCycle, which is owned by Specialized, and they have theirs. What was that? Wheels. There's another shop. Anyways, several bike shops, breweries as well too, because we're known for breweries up here. But I was thinking like, that'd be kind of fun, just roll up with my camera and just chitter chatter and see what give somebody an experience of what you expect. There's gonna be food. They'll work on your tinker on your bike for free, that kind of thing. So that's one of the bike shop. What bike shops can leverage in the off season, and it's actually brought on by the city of Fort Collins. So it is not just a bike shop driven event. It's actually a city event. A lot of the cities will have those bike to work days kind of planned. Loveland, where I live in, which is only 10 miles south of Fort Collins, which is they have their own version of that kind of thing. So double check. All right, we just took our little chippers to the groomer, making sure he's not done. Anyway, so yeah, I was thinking about doing something like that as an event, if the weather's not too terrible and if I have time. But the thing is those back to work events here, they may be around the nation, but in other parts of the world, if they have those, there's a two type thing. You can do it either in the morning. This one has a morning, so you can hit a couple spots before you go into your work. That's the theory behind it. And then they have going back home, like they'll have an afternoon, like 3:34 to 5 kind of thing. And then you can hit up a couple stops in that. I've worked a few of them over the years, and I've ridden sometimes a couple of them. It's fun. It's different, and it's all types. It's all types. It's basically your true core cycling community on those things, for sure. Pretty cool. Let's see. Bicycle shop strictly here for the style choices. So we want to get my ponytail. Maybe I just get one of those fake ponytails. They do have a wig place here. I'm just have a ponytail just built into my helmet. How about that? Oh yeah. Everybody has their thing, right? So in any case, so yeah, I mean, events are huge. So yeah, we're talking about the cyclist. So yeah, I beat up on the subject for 40 minutes here or less, or about cycling community and what your community is a part of, and bringing that in, like the horse before the cart. You got to have bicyclists that like riding for bike shops to exist and bike companies to exist. We just don't build these things to work on them. I mean, well, some of us just do for ourselves, but whatever. So I'm going to go right into the shop. What does a shop do? And there's like 5 points I'm going to do here. I'm going to do a little intro here first. I'm going to do a little timestamp. So bike shops in the wintertime. If you're a newer shop, which there's a couple out there that have not experienced one off season yet, they're trying to figure out what the hell they're supposed to do in the off season. Well, some of it's common sense. You're planning for the next season, you get this and that, and you get all your ducks in a row, and your vendors are going to try to you need to take your preseason bikes and parts and all this, and then you're scratching your head and like, why did I commit? Will I be able to pay those invoices when they come due in March, April, May, or what are the 3-month terms? All those things, right? So you got that, and you got a combination of staff and cleaning the shop and all those kinds of things. So when you're talking to your bike shop and you come to them in the wintertime, and they're like, they should be almost busy, if not busier, but different. What they're doing on a day-to-day in the off season. Reason being, there's so much to do to get that stuff done in such little time to do it, especially if you really want to recover from a busy season or anticipate a busy season. And a lot of shops have taken on different things to try to promote different opportunities for leveraging services and so forth. And you're looking at a video right now. I mean, detailing a frame, it might be one thing, or waxing chains or something like that. That's the opportunity. That's the time you want to get train up that staff. I've noticed like Will and Sprocket, they're already doing a call for new employees, new hires. They're usually starting right now, if not already, before a month and a half before their big season kicks off. So that's where you have those opportunities to bring in better staff, better training, and all those. So all that. But there's a lot of things. Basically, a lot of things goes on in the off season. And let's just dive into the first one here. Let me see here. Well, the first one is pretty obvious. It's service and repairs. Off season, you got your discounted tune-ups, and but besides that, what besides that are you going to do to provide a value? What are you going to do for the next service? Are you going to go to a platform that's a faster turnaround? Is that something? Or more appointment based? Or like REI is now using Dirt Labs to do all the suspension work as an outsource? Are you going to put dollars to donuts of trying to figure out what works, what makes the shop work efficiently? And your business, so you got to figure out where it's going to make money. In addition to, is that money going to support the staff that you're going to want to have or currently do have, and be able to promote and also provide better wage increases and so forth? Because coming around the corner, usually around March, that's when everybody has their salary increase, and that's kind of expected in a lot of places. So those are things you're going to be looking to do in the shop base and service, providing different services. Is it going to be a crutch, or is it going to be beneficial? Well, one of the services I do is wax chains, and a lot of shops have adapted to this, and some are like naysayers. But you could take wax chain as let's just take it as an example, right? It could be whatever you want to try that's new. But if you've done some success with it, like do a little trial, and if you have success and you want to go with it, well, like wax chains, for example, is like, well, you do the service. Well, you have like 20, 30 chains sitting on your wall that, why don't you pre-wax them? And there's services out there, including mine, that I do sell pre-wax chains. But the thing is I don't sell a lot of them online. Most of my sales are when somebody brings the bike in, like, oh, do you want a chain that's waxed or not waxed? And I tell them the benefits, or, my Kool-Aid of it. And that's where I sell a lot of those. Yeah. And when you're doing a service for a customer, like, oh, you should wax that chain? They just grab a couple off the shelf. Well, wax chain as in the same process. And there, lo and behold, you get $20 or $30 more off of those chains. And that actually bumps up two things: bumps up your labor, and also bumps up more sales of those chains, that kind of thing. All right. Well, welcome, Mafia Off-Road. Thanks for joining in on us. This was a two-parter topic today. The first part was talking about the customer's perspective of bike cycling community and what they're doing. And now we're just diving into the bike shop portion of it. And this is the first, if you're just joining me now, first 5 topics that I'm going to talk about, and maybe help leveraging, and maybe something you may, if you're in a shop, maybe where you thought about doing, forgot a thing, and help provide better services going forward. Oh, nice. Oh, hey, Frank. Thanks for grabbing a chain. I do have it. Is that you? Oh, I think I have it right here, ready to go, waiting for the milk truck to go by. But yeah, or was it the other one? I don't know. I had a couple that went through, which was kind of a runs. But yeah, the pre-wax, it's a whole thing, right? It's I'm just talking about the bike shop's perspective on this. If you're going to dive into it, not, Silca is really doing a huge push. You can do like Speed Wax, Vital Chains. I think it's named correctly, Vital Chains. He sells pre-wax chains. You'll find him on eBay. I don't know if he sells off of a website, but he does sell off of eBay. Several different chains. So if you don't, I think mine are priced a little bit more, but because I don't have wholesaling on them, but he does. I think he does a lot of that. And a lot of different chains than I do too. I think he does the KMCs, which I'm not going to go into that. It's like, for me, it's only so much. And again, when you're looking at that, going back to case in point, when you're looking at that new service, you want to kind of like what's going to work for you. You don't have to be end all everybody. I mean, like, I'm going to wax chains for my service department. I'm going to wax everything. That's probably not a good thing. Just take like our inventory, just, and look at your analytics and go, I sell X amount of these, of this brand and these speeds and whatever, and maybe wax, a few of them, see how they go. Either pre-wax to be thrown on service bikes when they come in, or people buying them and going out the door. Then providing that re-wax service, which I have that as well, where my customers are coming like, oh, I want you to re-wax these 3 chains. I do the process, and while I'm doing that, while the wax is already warm, I do a few more off the shelf. That's kind of how just the workflow on that. And it seems, I mean, let's put it honestly, in a small bike shop, independent bike shops, it could be even like in a bigger scale shop, every dollar counts. Every transaction counts. It just, anything you can do, and not to bleed yourself out with time and do too many different things, but if you could focus on something that provides a couple $100 here and there, that's huge. So, and if you add it on top of your actual already service department, that even helps you even more to support those salaries and those people working on the bikes and training and so forth. We got to find different ways to leverage more money to be set aside for mechanics, because if you don't, and this has been proven over the last 2 decades, if you don't provide livable wages for mechanics to do that, you're not going to get good mechanics coming up the case. And that's just how it is. Because they'll hit the ceiling and be like, why do I want to do this when I can go get a job working at Walmart, stocking somebody else's shelves and make us twice as much? It's just one of those things. So that's always been Achilles heel to bike shops. They can't really pay their employees as much as they would like. And the service part of it is horribly overly complicated. That's where a lot of the shops are outsourcing some part of the services, like REI doing suspension. The Dirt Labs has been doing that suspension outsource since 2008. And they've, several shops have done that. And Trek has actually made their own facilities that they send their shocks and service work to be done to those locations. I don't know if they're going to keep that up or not, because when I talk to the local Trek store here, they're like, oh no, we either do it ourselves or we send it to, I think, somewhere down in Colorado Springs, which is a faster turnaround versus their own corporate version of it. I don't know, don't tell them that, but don't tell the uppity ups that. So Derek, don't tell the bosses. I mean, I believe each shop has to do what they need to do, especially when it comes to, I worked at a chain store within Big Five, sporting good industry, and you have to do what you need to do. And, whatever is okay with the companies, as long as the bottom line, the customer's taken care of, right? That's where it usually comes to. Let's dive into that. I think they beat up service. I mean, if you work on your bikes, you tune them up, you're a mechanic, or off-season repairs. Before I go on that topic on service, people like to have bikes refurbished, in a sense, like they're older bikes, or they bought, like new to you bike. If you bought a new to you bike and you need some stuff done, I've been a service manager for years and worked in shops for years, and it is really just a knee-jerk reaction to go, oh, I need to find whatever part that's compatible for that vintage bike, which may have, Ultegra on it, which is a 9-speed, and say, oh, well, I need to do microchip. That's the only thing I can do. Well, why don't you pop on the eBay real quick, find a shifter set that's from a company that's refurbishing old parts, and give them an option of that part, like an Ultegra set, shifter set. Let's say, like example, they have bad shifters and you want to get a new shifter set. And case in point, the bike that you're looking at right now needed a shifter set. And I found, lo and behold, off of a bike that I got, it was a 9-speed Dura-Ace shifter set. Cleaned it up and it seems to work just fine. So therefore, you can provide opportunity for that customer, a vintage matching parts. And you have the time to do it, which is this time of year. Or some of your mechanics, like, hey, take the opportunity, mark it up. I mean, you can put 20, 30, 40 bucks, whatever, put a percentage market on to order it and have it in, to the shop and, clean it up and whatever. Sure. But hey, you just matched the bike. I've done that quite a bit on bikes that are refurbished. Like, oh man, the shifter's bad. I need to go find myself a left shifter. And then I go hit eBay, and bam, lo and behold, I have another shifter, and the bike matches and looks great and shifts and performs well. So that's another thing that the service department can be forward faced and go the extra mile for those customers for sure. And when you do that, you're really providing that service that a lot of shops don't. And if you're smaller and you're leveraging that, you're doing if you've done it already, you got yourself a good thing going for sure to help that out. All right. And we're going to talk about one thing that I know way too much about, painfully, is inventory management in the off season. Yeah, I work for a company called Retail Toolkit. They're now owned by Kickstand, which used to be, or Smart E-tailing, which was a management program that basically integrated with your POS system. And those who don't know anything about this, I'm going to bore you for a split second. That basically had an algorithm that took your 3-year and a long history of parts being sold, bikes, everything. If you had more history, the better, and it's output numbers that you would need. Well, through this whiplash and with the hell we're in, that is going to be almost virtually impossible to leverage a system like that to clear numbers like on consistent market. But inventory, and that's where I've got a lot of experience of inventory, and I worked with a lot of shops, inventories, big and small, some massively big, jaw-dropping of inventory. But in any case, what it comes down to at the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter. It's all, add a zero and move the decimal point. But you're looking at inventory. What's going to work for you? I think we're in a position finally that we can go back to leveraging BTI, QBP, JMB importers, and so others to warehouse our inventory, and we don't have to stock 1,800 different colors or go more than 2 or 3 deep. I mean, yeah, you want stuff on the floor to sell, good, better, best, done, and don't go deep, and whatever gets replenished. And the biggest eye opener is when Wheels of Motion, when I went there, coming from Lee Cycliest, where we had 3 locations and we just stockpiled shit. I mean, stockpiled insanely. I mean, we'd have like 4 seasons worth of tires and tubes and that kind of thing. But when I went there, they leaned their inventory and leveraged the truck and QBP to a point where they only had like 20 road tubes on the floor. Blew my freaking mind. I mean, it was like, and they're like, oh no, we'll get tubes next week if we run through, and we never run through that many in 1 week. So there's a lot of things that you can do to really kind of cut back on inventory, investing that much in inventory and paying those invoices. And it was more of a fluid version of that. Blue Sky Cycles, thanks for joining. Thank you from the guys from Greeley, or the guy from Greeley, Colorado. Gotta love it. It's happening right now. It costs more specialty tools than getting dirt labs to rebuild. Yeah. So yeah, going with the shifting inventory. This applies to inventory. You're talking about. Okay. Yeah. I think it was a Go Guava was talking about, we're going to start doing service on suspension and so forth. Well, if you feel like that's going to work for you and do the training and carry all the tools, expensive tools, and all the seal kits and all the stuff to go with that, it could work. It has in other shops. And if there's a demand for a quick turnaround, but I don't know, the industry's kind of leveraged people that have high-end shocks and know it's going to be a couple of weeks until they get their bike back, or a week, for suspension work down, because a lot of it has been outsourced. And that's a very huge lift and cost. And this is nothing new. I was doing this back in 2003. I was sending it to QBP, had a service center option, so you can send in shocks and they do all the service work, and it'd be, they have techs, they're all trained, they got all the parts, and it's like it was done right, and all you did is throw the fork back on or the rear suspension back on. I mean, some of the rear suspensions you can do yourself are pretty simple, like the Fox ones with the seal kits. But when you're looking at front suspensions, it get really complicated real quick. And therefore, yeah. And if you grab a contract with Dirt Labs, it'll be cheaper than what they sell, and you can make a little bit of money off of it. But really, at the end of the day, it's kind of like I rather make the money on doing the installation and all those things, that kind of thing. And then just, keep the service work and all those mainly for them to do. That therefore it's, it saves you time and money, and you can basically home in on your skills and what you are doing. There lies the inventory portion of it. There's so many. I mean, you can buy a lot of stuff that's going to sit on the shelves for decades. And there's been a couple shops that dumped like RockShox O-rings from the indie days, or the Judy days, and they're still brand new. It's, believe me, I've done inventory in shops like Lee Cycler. You pull out a drawer and the stuff's just been sitting there forever. Wheels of Motion was the same way. I'm like, why do you have all this stuff? I needed one set, so I bought 3. Some of those, you got to be very mindful of what you purchase for inventory and that kind of thing, and leveraging for sure for inventory. But on the other part of inventory, I'll get that here, is there's a little gold nugget, and there's money left on the table for bike shops for inventory, especially in the service department. I'll get to that here in a second. Let me just see if there's any comments I need to comment on. Kind of hub motors, electric e-bikes. That's why you buy tech specialists, especially insurance, especially insurance touch. So yeah, when you go e-bike route, definitely talk to another e-bike shop that does e-bike stuff. I mean, there's a whole level of insurance, there's a whole level of tools, there's a whole level of training and understanding of all that works. So for me, I have a video of special precision e-bike, Josh in Fort Collins. If somebody had a tune-up, had me do the tune-up on, they wanted me to do it, and it's like, and then they said something about the motor and so forth, I would technically outsource. I'm like, okay, let me go take this over to Josh and take a look at it. Give me an extra day or two. That kind of thing. If you have somebody in your neck of the woods who can do that specialty work, that's what I would do. The bike industry is opened up so huge of so many different things, especially in the mechanic perspective of it. You can find something somewhere that you can do plenty of and keep yourself busy without bleeding yourself out. If you're a huge shop like Wheat Ridge Cycliest that we have here in is that the same video? Oh, that's the same video. Sorry. Wheat Ridge Cycliest, they're huge. They have a service center, which is a separate building, and they have like 40 workstations. Mad volume. So yeah, a shop like that, when it gets to that scale, that bigger size, sure, you're going to have one person. That's all they do. But you're going to have the actual overhead to be able to afford all that kind of thing. In any case, sidebar on that. I got a little bit further on that. But yeah, going back to the gold nuggets. Yeah, bikes. There's If you focus and you got your right market and you hit your market just right, you're okay. I'm doing okay for what I do. And I'm very bluntly honest. If it's something beyond that I'm tooled up to do, like suspension work or e-bike stuff, I leverage my other partners in this community to get those things done. So yeah, Blue Skies, definitely check out, if you're not already, check out the Dirt Labs. And yeah, you had mentioned about bulk tubes. Yeah, if you buy tubes and so forth and bulk, price raise. But if you have the numbers to justify paying for 5 boxes of tubes, knowing that you go through them, get the better price, and if you have the money up front, that's great. If you buy inventory outright and own it outright, that's awesome. If you have to leverage their billing cycle, which is the third, which is later in terms, yeah, you might want to question it. Double check that. Double check that and making sure that during comes June, July, and August that you'll have the funds to pay for all those invoices, which is a whole big spreadsheet that I had to build up for a bike shop. So they knew what the hell they were doing. And that's where the retail toolkit part did kind of help-ish that to some level. Anyways, the gold nugget here is used. Okay, you're going like, oh, he's going to go back on his used soapbox again. Okay, so it's off season. And if you have any bins like mine, you're looking at the bench right now that I'm working on this XT derailleur. Underneath there, there's like 20 bins of broken out separate parts, like brake calipers to derailleurs to whatever. You know, it's all broken down, and chains and so forth. And if you look on, I mean, just take out one of those bins and look at if anything is still salvageable that works well, or is a takeoff and that kind of thing, and it's cleaned up or it needs to be cleaned up. Take a quick eBay search and see what value is on that real quick. And lo and behold, I can guarantee you underneath my bench that you're looking at right now, there's probably about $200 to $300 worth of parts that I can sell just used. So you can be a smaller shop and leverage all your loose bits that over the whole summer that maybe you need to find new homes for. And honestly, you know, I mean, my dad was bad about this. We'd have buckets full of parts and you're like, oh, we may need that someday for fixing one other bike. And I'm like, well, at this point, perspectives, like if I need a part, I'll go order one, either new or used. And therefore you're getting all that stuff and that space cleaned up where you'll be able to leverage that square footage of your shop a little bit better. So it's not an overflow of junk. You want to clear all that junk out and put do a virtual garage sale using Facebook Marketplace, Bike List, eBay, plus, you know, Craigslist. And, you know, shipping is actually, don't be afraid if you're not already doing it, which most likely you're already doing, is super, super easy to do. Even if you're just an avid cyclist and you have a whole bunch of swap parts laying around, do that, because you may actually make a couple $100 to put towards a new part or service or a trip. I don't know. So as a smaller shop, if like you're only a one-man band like I am, I mean, a couple $100 here and there is huge. Plus you clear out those bins that you don't need. That is a gold mine of inventory just sitting there. And don't hesitate of taking and just do. Here's the trick. It sounds like it's a lot to do. Just do 3 a day. Just do 2 a day. Just pick up 2 items that you know it's been sitting there for over 6 months, clean them up, take some 5 to 10 pictures of them, throw them up and see what happens. And if they don't sell, they just sit there. Eventually they will. That's the thing. They'll eventually will sell, especially on eBay. Make sure you keep calculate the 15% that they do cut and all that. So buyer beware there, or seller beware there. But you know, it's like, therefore you're getting those parts out there, and that will actually make you a little bit of money. Actually a lot of money, because what I sell, like $6,000, $7,000 worth of used parts, like my first year doing this. So that could float you for a month just in the parts alone. So keep that in mind. So don't hoard those things. I mean, you don't need to. It's just money sitting there. So collect on it. That's where the golden door. If you're a big shop and you don't want to deal with that, that's a great way to benefit your staff. Like, just like, hey, here's all these parts. Everybody grabs 2, you know, whatever. And then you go around another 2. And it's like, if you don't want to, you know, as a business, want to deal with that. But that way you give your staff opportunity to take those and make some themselves and make a little extra something, you know, buy lunch, beer, pizza party or something. I don't know, however you want to do it. There's a gold mine of parts there, and those used things, a lot of times the customers will be like, nah, I don't want that, I don't need those or whatever, and they still might be okay or good. And a lot of times, I mean, you know, if you make it a policy with your shop, that's where you know, a bigger shop was the inventory manager, and when I had 20 employees underneath me, that was kind of a little harder to do. So we would do, you know, kind of like that pooling kind of thing, because the owner had no interest of capitalizing on that. He was more on the new in, new out, and he didn't care about the used stuff, instead of like a couple of employees would sneak that stuff out. And it's like, you can leverage it and like, okay, it goes all in a bucket. We all divvy it up and everybody takes one or value, whatever. And that way, benefits, it basically is giving your staff a tip, however you want to work it. But there is definitely a dollar amount leverage for sure in that inventory of used sitting there for sure. All right. Killed that. That's enough talking about that. All right. The next one, boring to death, but I have 3 more left. Customer engagement. Let me get a timestamp on this. We're looking at 1:08. So customer engagement, right? Let's take it. Hey, off season to strengthen their ties with local cycling communities. Yeah, this is a time to reach out, like Wheels in Motion would reach out to Ann Arbor Cycling Club. This is where bike shops would reach out to the local ride clubs, find the ride clubs, or also importantly, find out all the rides that are going on in your neck of the woods and what maybe a little bit further to leverage. Bike MS is no longer coming to Fort Collins, is not coming past my house, but I'm still going to be a part of it because my customer pull is the whole front range. So just getting my name out there is huge. And also I'm doing something for a good community. Just thought of this morning, which is kind of crazy. So if you're taking these I'm talking to bike shop owners and shop people now, and you're like dead, and you're like, how do we leverage this? You definitely don't want to be trying to leverage this when it's in the heat of the moment in summer, because you do not have time to do that. But right now, what you could do is contact like Bike MS or one of them, like, hey, we want to be part of this organization, or you've been part of this organization. It's like, I want to do a kickoff party. Do a couple beginning season kickoff parties with specific rides and events and clubs, because that's how you really leverage these, is the beginning, not the day of the event. You can a little bit, but it's actually the kicker is if you leverage it now. So Blue Sky, if you're thinking about doing the Bike MS, you can do a Bike MS probably kickoff party, get all your customers involved, like get a food truck, some beer, whatever. Get a hold of the MS director lady, see if they can do something for you there, just to kind of like get extra discount on parts, services, or tune-ups for the particular ride event. Do make sure it's like a limits, it's not in your heated season. Now, for you're actually reaching out to your community and bringing it into that particular ride, and maybe do a training ride or something like that, correlated with the Bike MS group or those people. You can plug in whatever group ride event as is. I'm just using Bike MS as an example. They are sitting on their butts right now trying to figure out what the fuck they're going to do for the season, and they have opportunity right now and time and bandwidth to do things like this, to actually help you promote your shop, and as well as help and promote the ride that they're going to be doing. So there's a lot of things and a lot of mixed parts you can give it leverage. So building those communities now by I think the Wheels in Motion had an Ann Arbor club meetings several times during the off season. They'd be given 10% off or whatever, and that's where they would do their little meeting thingy, and that's if you had the space for it and all that. But that's the opportunity right now, is to build those communities, and you can start those now, not just plan for them like, oh, I'm going to do on these days. Like, no, you can actually have a pre-party, pre-game it, because guess what? The cyclist people in your community are bored of their mind in February. I want to do something different than just this, oh, let's go talk about this, that, and other. The first couple may not be great, but if you leverage a little bit, you can get those communities to come out. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be at your location. Like Wheels in Motion, for example, did the worst day of the year ride. It was never, they probably had some that went out of their shop, but it was usually at a different location, did the rides, and then went back to a pub, which had nothing to do with the location they were at. So it is a way you can leverage that for sure to do those particular events. So, and everybody's like, I don't want to lose events because it's always taking away a mechanic or two in my busiest season. True. But if you leverage it starting now, you can get 4 or 3 months of promoting and leveraging through that one event. So when the one event comes around, you've already paid for that mechanic to be there 8 times, 10 times more just showing up for a day. So by doing those events, pre-gaming it, training rides or packet pickup or kickoff season party or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do to leverage that and to be able to, bring those customers in and buy some stuff and get prepared and get excited and get those bikes tuned up or buy new bikes or whatever the case may be. A lot of those rides, and especially those e-bike, Blue Sky's the e-bike shop. I mean, a lot of those rides are starting to include e-bikes. So they may need an extra battery for that ride or, those kinds of things. That's an opportunity to be able to talk to them about that and educate them about those particular rides and those events and so forth, which was eye opener for me just like a couple of weeks. I mean, I was like, oh, you need 2 bike batteries for that? Yeah, I had no clue because I don't ride e-bikes, but if I did, I would learn quickly. That's what I would need to do for sure. But thanks for chiming in. Appreciate it very much. So, all right. Yeah, I don't think I used that word yet this time, Frank. Maybe I did. And quite honestly, this is live, so I don't know what I say half the time. I'm sober though, and pumped up with coffee. Any case, so yeah, there's a lot of different places you can leverage the community, and that's where we're going to have to really leverage on. A lot of those people are going to be doing those event rides and so forth, and the high end market is going to soften up for sure if it hasn't already. Okay, the second to last topic is like development and skills and training. That's a necessary evil for every shop. I mean, every shop has to go through this off-season training, new stuff's coming out, got to get to know what the new stuff is. But as a case in point, you're looking at me working on a XT derailleur, which is probably a good 25 years old. How many people in your staff know how to work on one of those? I mean, obviously they probably do, because a lot of the stuff that's the forefather parts of what we are looking at today. It's just been supersized. But the thing is training not necessarily is always on new. Training on how to react to older parts. Why do I say that? Because some shops have gotten into the elitism of, we won't work on anything that's over a certain X. We want to upsell that to a new bike or different parts or whatever the case may be. I mean, if your shop does that, sure, they probably have some success to it, but I can almost guarantee you every other time, the other person that's like, well, let me go think about it, and they're being nice and polite, they basically turn that customer off completely. They're being nice about it, but they're walking away going, this is not my shop. Which is a hard pill to swallow and it's hard to take. And this is the time of year that you need to listen and hear the painful truth of it. A consumer is basically, you do not know if that bike is a passionate piece of equipment, is handed down from a family member, or is given to them, or any of those things. So you got to be very mindful of how you do those bike repairs and so forth. And I know some shops, they have such a volume and whatever the case, but you can increase your bottom line by just being a little more empathetic and a little more thoughtful of how your staff is fronting of a bike. I have customers that are bluntly like, nope, this is something I really want to fix up. And I'm like, fine, that's great. We'll do everything I can to get it fixed up to where you want it to be fixed up. Then I have customers like, just tell me what needs to be replaced. I don't care. Put it on the bill. Tell me later. I have those customers too. But I know those customers. That's the thing. If you have brand new customers come in, and I've had customers come back to me, they went to X shop and then they told them that bike is too old and it's not worth working on. And they had like a little bit of, I mean, they were busy, so they probably were just, came off agitated. And they were trying to upsell them, in which went well in the wrong direction. That individual will never go to the X shop or any of their other X shops ever again. And they probably told all their friends, which she was part of a cycling club locally. So in any case, have your staff very aware of know-how or how to check in older bikes. Prime example, and the easiest one is shifters that are over 10 to 15 years older that are Shimano specifically for sure. If they're sticky, you can run them under extremely hot water and cycle them through. It sometimes cleans them up to a point that it's just the grease inside that cakes up. A lot of times it's about a 80 to 90% success rate when I do that with the ultrasonic cleaner on those shifters, brings it back to life. I brought back a set of shifters that are 30 years old off that GT and the video that you have in my library of the GT that I fixed up. The shifters were stuck. And once I went through those Dura shifters, I think they're Dura LX, the 2 shifter thumbs up and down, hot water, ultrasonic cleaner, blew them out, shift beautifully right after that. Guy that bought it, he's out East Coast somewhere. He loves the thing. It works great. So just a little bit of education on the older stuff. Have some of those old timers just pick out some stuff. It's like, oh, we can do this. Let's let you know how to do this. Because the old timers that are in the back that have been working on bikes that are done talking to the public, they'll help the people up front understand all the stuff. And if you have any questions, you leverage that knowledge. Please leverage it. All right. Back to the shop. Oh, no need to apologize for bad shops. There are a lot of them. I don't think they were meant to be that way at the beginning, and they shouldn't be in that way. I mean, back in the 90s, there were still bad shops back then. Our competition was a bad shop, mean, very mean. But it's people vibe or what their events or whatever jives with shops as well as customers. Some customers deserve some of those shops. So not to be, there's a place for them. Let's put it that way. To be politically correct, nice about it. But if you're fortunate enough to have several shops in your neck of woods, check them all out. You may find one that stands out better than others in different things. And we all have our different strengths and weaknesses. It comes to that too. Yeah. Hey, Randy, thanks for chiming in. Appreciate it. Vexel Shop to you too. Thank you for chiming in. Yeah, you gotta pay the bills, obviously, but if you take care of a customer, well, one of the things is what blew me away when I was working at Big Five Sporting Goods, chain, 500 locations on the west coast or west side of Mississippi in the United States. So it just give you an idea because a lot of people don't know what Big Five Sporting Goods is, but they have so many stores and they're basically built off of customer service, and they had there's a huge return rate there. The return rate would bug me because somebody would bring in a pair of shoes that they claimed that they bought from us, no receipt, and they were worn out. Like, oh, I'm dissatisfied. And I was, by company policy, just going to take it and give them store credit. And was the best advice I was given from my supervisor, which was a regional supervisor. He's like, just look at it as you're getting like credit back. Basically, you are getting credit back. You're investing in that customer to coming back. So yeah, lost that $50, but they're going to come back and spend $50 at another time. Granted, those outliers of people who would chronic, and their system would flag that, like REI did, and they flagged too many people recently, cut them off that they can't do any returns. So that was a whole thing. But with Big Five Sporting Goods, it's like, okay, you can't let the emotional level of that get to you. People are right now, especially now, even our culture is getting, even since when I haven't worked at Big Five in like 9 years. But the thing is it's even more so now because everybody's so used to buying, returning, and finally getting the thing that they want for the most part. But invest those in customers, and they'll come back and pay you 10 times fold, sometimes more often than not. So that's part of the training staff. Training staff bit is training the staff to be community oriented, building up that. Or just yourself, if you're working, you know how many times I had to like self-reflect because I work by myself in a sense that, I'm it. Like, okay, where do I do this wrong? By the bullet, how do I can do it better next time? I've been doing it for 35 years. I still have a crap ton to learn. I mean, personally, how do I present myself? How do I project myself? How am I helping? I mean, the bottom line, I want to help, right? And be part of that journey. And I just went in all, and yeah, I'm always still trying to improve myself. So if you can get that to work in your shop, I guarantee you going forward, it's going to help out a lot better. And lastly, business planning and marketing. Oh, this is the worst, hardest topic ever. Because all that stuff that you're planning for marketing, for, you know, not just doing the events, you have your sales. Like Will and Sprocket, they're bringing back their Will and Sprocket, big chain store in Milwaukee and Chicago area. They have over 10 stores. They used to have this huge sale event, which they would do at a fairgrounds. And they didn't do it the last 3 or 4 years because of the COVID thing. And they're bringing it back first time after. They would do massive purchases. And they would get all their reps to work it and bring out their own stuff. And it's just a huge thing. Okay. So yeah, that's one of those things they have to throw like 10, 20 people at it to organize the whole damn thing. That's like their job. But that's a huge scale, right? And still technically independent bike shop, small shop, but they have 10 stores. So, when you're looking at smaller, you're looking at, okay, what weekends I'm going to have sales, what weekends I'm going to promote this, what should I do tune-up specials or events and all that. And the time is now to do all that. And you're not going to have time to do it in season, but try to keep, you got to keep it manageable, and you got to keep it to where it's going to be effective. What worked, what didn't work. Don't be hesitate to take out. But the thing is working for a big bag chain store, they would have, once they had a sale, they have to repeat the same sale every year for the numbers to jive. So you'd have the same weekend sale here. They would have to have the same one the next year on the retail and calendar date to match, compare those numbers. Because working as a store manager, you are up against a $10,000 day. And then all of a sudden that Saturday, Sunday, Monday were $15,000 to $25,000 days. And you're like, it's got to have a sale to push those numbers to even get close to matching those. Okay, so yeah, I'm talking more big, but you're still at the same kind of thing. Well, one Sprocket, of course, that sale wasn't that huge to begin with, right? It started, probably maybe it was just all their stores at the time had that one sale, or maybe it was just one location had the big clearance blowout sale, or whatever. I mean, whatever you can do to provide a community value prop and event. They made it an event. That really helps out for sure. And then it became an annual event, annual sale. So there's different ways you can do it. You can, leverage other communities, bike shop communities, to see what they do in their neck of the woods that worked for them, and maybe mirror it. For me here, we're a very seasonally oriented market, because the most snow we get is in March and April. So that's where your season technically begins. So if you have a snowstorm that lands on a Saturday, and if you have weather patterns that's usually a 7-day out, and it's like nice on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but you got crap on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, your sales suck horribly. And that can put you under, which was one of the things that hurt us quite a bit on our last year at Parker Bikes. What you could do, and what we did, is leverage one of those. If it snows more than 3 inches, you get additional 10% off or whatever. It was a very small micro grassroots campaign, just a mailer. But sure enough, it snowed 3 inches, actually 6 inches. And we sold 30 bikes with 6 inches of snow outside our small little shop. So it's one of those things. If you can leverage your environments, you can leverage your community. VeloSwap, if you look at Bike Farmer, he went to some VeloSwap thing that was pretty big up in Wisconsin, that kind of deal. Those things can be leveraged as well. So yeah, there's all those kinds of things you can do for marketing, branding, and get your name out there. Yeah, for sure. Let me check a couple of the comments here. Yeah. How far back? I think. Oh, sorry. I have them catching up with these. Yeah, Randy, gotta pay bills. Uh, all right. There's a lot of flavors out there for sure. People, bike shops. That's a good way of putting it for sure. Randy, oh, the Campy wine opener. That's what this guy is. This little grass bed. Yeah, the opener itself it doesn't work out that great, but it's a cool little novelty gift. Gave it to my dad, and when he passed away, I reacquisitioned it. It's just kind of cool to have on a bench. How about all those bike shops with the kids, the eBay shop? Oh yeah. Also, yeah, your younger individuals in your shop, they buy and sell used stuff probably more than you know. And they can help you leverage that market with the stuff in your own store. Lee Cyclery, we would have our own false eBay account ish to sell all the Trek branded crap that we weren't supposed to technically sell. Because back then we were not allowed to sell any of that stuff, especially if it was like one-off weirdo things. And we had a guy, that's what he'd do, was part of his many things he did. And they, would roll some of that. That was the newer stuff, but you can leverage that used stuff for sure. And eBay, and you can market your business on eBay. And that's nothing new. When I worked at Retail Toolkit, looking at some of those huge shops, they all had huge eBay accounts. Heads up, leverage it, use it. It's there. You could put you take your logo, you watermark all your pictures that you post on those parts with your logo on there. People figure it out. Oh, it's $10, $20, $100 cheaper on your website than it is on eBay. That's why, because they know the markup on eBay is insane. And if you're small enough like me, you don't have to charge sales tax if it's sold out of state. So they save there as well. So you don't get the fees and they don't have to pay the sales tax. So you can leverage that as well. So that's a marketing tool by selling all those used bits and pieces, old frames, whatever, rental fleet, whatever you feel comfortable shipping. That's a great way of marketing your store. Case in point, and yes, you're watching this on YouTube, and we're talking, I'm not going to say you need to start a YouTube channel, but half of my service last summer was driven by you people watching me. You'd either drive all the way up from the south parts of Denver or all the way up from Laramie or Cheyenne to have me work on your bikes because you saw my shop. You see what I do. You wanted to be a part of my community, which was great. Does it pay for all the time that I do YouTube? No. But it does, help. And it'll build upon. And now, a lot of those customers I'm going to have as lifelong customers because they're, as long as I keep doing this, it's one of those things. In any case, it's like, whatever market that fits your style. Let's say if you work in a bigger shop and you don't have time, or a smaller shop, you don't have time to leverage YouTube, but you watch somebody like me on YouTube, and maybe it's a smaller one, or if you let's put it this way, if like I did, the demographics of YouTube stretches globally, right? But yet, therefore, I'm still getting a lot of customers locally, which blows my mind. But let's just say if you're doing a lot of sales on eBay or whatever, or Vital Wax, you're selling your chains and stuff, and you want to drive some more business, but you want to leverage YouTube on a bigger platform, you reach out to one of us that has bigger channels, or has a channel that you don't have a channel, has a bigger channel. It's like, hey, how much does it cost you to just plug my store and do like a 15-second overview of what I do or what I have? And if it's a win-win, therefore you're still leveraging YouTube without having to do all the pains and the valleys of what I do on YouTube to do this or any kind of marketing. It is, bike shops and marketing, bike shop people have a hard time getting their head around marketing. It's tough. And it's basically, you feel like you're just throwing money into a money pit, like or a dumpster fire. Like you sometimes don't see that monetary kickback off of that. But there's ways of leveraging it where it could be a success, and you can't stop not doing it because there's no more yellow pages. So what's the yellow pages? It's mass media. It's like your Facebook page might be good, your Instagram page may be good. There's a couple of shops that do really good with their Instagram. They just post like 3-second, not 3-second, but 30-second videos all the time, and they have a good following and what have you. But that's a great way, any of those platforms is a great way to legitimize what the hell are you doing and what's your vibe, right? Like who you are. Because a lot of shops, it's a building front and you don't know what the vibe is until you walk in. And a lot of people are kind of shy of walking in a bike shop, especially nowadays, because the last few shops they've walked into are just really too overwhelming. But if I had a shop where mine's appointment based, they know who they're going to see when they roll up. I mean, they're like, this is the guy, and we're going to talk about my stuff. And then, I might add a video of them working on their stuff on my channel if I have time, if it works out, or if it's something to point out. That's great. Gives me more content, and they get to see their bike immortalized on YouTube forever. But I mean, it's just one of those things where, if you think out of the box, especially in the time and the environment we're in right now, what's working, what's going to be working? I can tell you, used markets were going to be working. It has been working well for a lot of shops. Used parts as well. Service is going to be the leading factor. Between all the costs and everything of, who knows? The uncertainty of where our environment is with tariffs and competition and all this, and can we buy stuff from China? Can we not? Is our customers are going to be? I mean, that's where it's, not to get into all of that because it is a lot to get into. But at the end of the day, you're in the time of year where we need even if it's the end season for you, this is the time that you need to kind of figure out where we're going to go, what we're going to do, how we're going to leverage, and people are still going to ride bikes. And still people are going to have needs. What are those needs? How you can service them, and how you can be able to make it keep your business running off of that, building that community, that kind of thing. So is it those club rides? Is it those charity events? Is it extra services and service? Is it selling all the used stuff? And also the other one too, for inventory part, which I forgot to mention, was buy some used bikes and put them on your floor, fix them up. It is a no-brainer. I'm sorry, the last carbon bike I picked up cost me $175. It needs to work, but I can pick up a $400 full carbon bike that has less work that needs to be done to it, and I could put it up. If I had a sales floor, which virtually I do, but if I had a sales floor and I had the same brand of a carbon bike, but a few years older, but under $1,000, that is going to be so much easier to sell and to get into that customer. And the markup on that is going to be deeper. And yes, you put more labor into it, but did you? Did you now? Just think about it. As you look at a new bike, and all you new bike sellers out there, bike shops, you got the cost of the bike and you got your margin. Then you got somebody checking it in. You got somebody that ordered it. You got somebody who puts it together. You have somebody that sells it. Then you have somebody that actually does follow-up service on it, possibly. And then you have any kind of warranty, recalls, and all that other bullshit that goes with it. So that 30% margin is now shrunk to, what did you actually make off that bike? Okay, when you look at a used, say $200 bike, you pay a mechanic, and do you do the labor of $200 to $300, you sell that bike for $6 to $7. Your bike shop got a tune-up out of it, labor, and then the store probably got another 5 to 10% on top of that for selling it and what have you. So yeah, there is money in used market. It's been there forever. Look at the Plo's Closet. They just train wrecked the last time they went in. They're out there again doing it. Are they doing the same problem? Are they doing the same thing? All their bikes are still way expensive that they have listed so far. Anything at the entry level, anything from $1,500 and below, below that new bottom line new price point, you can provide a value, maybe overlap a little bit, but a higher in quality. You got something there. You don't have to do all in all, but try a few. Some parts as well. Upgrade kit. I think there's one bike shop in France. I think it's called ETAP. I think it is. Watch their stuff on Instagram. Looks like there's a whole bunch of vintage frames, and all they do is hodgepodge things together. So you walk in, you pick a frame. They got some campy wheels. They got like a group of those probably set all aside for you. Like, let's throw this thing together. So it's like custom builds of old stuff. I mean, that's really cool. Interesting. Cool. I don't think I could do that. But I don't have the space for it either. But they have their niche, and you can take all those little gold nuggets and thread them, and before you know it, you're going to have something that's pretty decent. Hopefully. We're all struggling in a sense of trying to figure out what we're going to be doing from here on out. But this is a case in point. There's a lot of things you can do to leverage your business to increase the bottom line. And the time now is to lay that groundwork to help do those promotions or changes and so forth. Price adjustments. Is the labor going to go up this year? There's a too competitive in your market to increase that price or decrease that price. Or maybe you have a lower price to bring in, tune-ups or safety checks or more value than your competition. All those things, because it's going to be very labor intensive this season because it was last year, and it's going to be very aggressive this year. And when I say aggressive, well, Trek got aggressive because they know it's really the only thing that's kind of helping them keep the lights on, keeping the cash flow going for them in their stores. Specialized is going to follow suit. So you're going to see a lot of the end cycles. They already did, because when they had that free check over day or tune up day or whatever, they're probably going to do a couple more of those if it worked out. And it's just that those are, a lot of that is kind of a bait and switch just to get them in there. And then they slap them with a big ticket. But, it's going to be, it's not going to get easier. Let's put it that way. It's going to be a little bit harder to become. Then you're going to have to really leverage your core customer base and spread the love and of the bike itself, because man, it's going to be something. And I noticed in the chat comments there's several bike shops that have gone down, multiple chains all over the place. That's part of some of it is nutrition of the cycling community. It's kind of ups and downs, and people go out and they have new ones replacing. But what's replacing? Is it the corporate stores? Is it the REIs? Is it REI, you can see what they're doing. They advertised the Canyon service for them to do, warranties and all that. But apparently they've already been doing that for a long time. They just leveraged the actual marketing piece of it recently. And now they're doing the dirt labs, which maybe they were already doing that. They just figure they need to advertise that. So here, I'm going to leave you with this. So if you're a small shop or a medium-sized shop, you can shop your competition, sure. You can see how their stores are, but I highly encourage you to shop. It may not even be in your own niche or you need retail, just your prominent retailer. Or if you're traveling, go look at big retail in the areas you're traveling. Just walk through the store and look how they're marketing things in a store, how they're placing it, because they spend tens of thousands of dollars for somebody to come up with a brainstorm idea of put what where. When I worked at the Big Five chain, we were changing our end caps out weekly, sometimes twice a week, promoting different items that mirror the items that were going into the actual marketing pieces of that week. So I know it's really tough to think about that when you're a small shop, but there's some areas in your shop are what I call hot zones, where stuff sell a little bit better. Rotate stuff out. Got to keep it fresh. So when they come in a week or two, maybe just once every month, do a refresh. Go in on a Sunday morning early and just kind of think about what a customer's experience is when they walk in the door. Walk your store like you would walk your competition, and then you do some subtle changes. You may just drive some extra sales by just doing that. that kind of thing. So, yeah, I don't know if it's the time to open a small business, but is there ever a good time to start open a small business? when it's really hot, it's doing great. Well, you're there with everybody else, and if you could get it to work in an environment like this, well, you may be able to survive the next crazy environment, like whatever that may be. So yeah, but the tidbits of it's it sounds repetitive, and you probably are like sitting in the shop and have me on your TV, and you're listening in and going, yeah, I know all this, all that. It's like, well, yeah, that's the point. You know all of it, but are you doing it? Or do you go, oh, I needed to do that? Did I spark a memory like, oh, it may not be something I said, but it may be something that you thought of that you're like, oh, I needed to do that for my shop because I wanted to do that. This is the time to do that. That's the whole point. There's a sense of urgency. Same thing with people that are riding. Like this is time to get your bike ready for the season because shit, you don't want to like, oh, I'm gonna go out for a ride, and you're like, oh crap. Then you take it to the shop and it's busy, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be a week and a half before I get my bike back because it needs to order parts from somewhere else because my e-bike motor blew up or whatever the case, or I have a bad battery or whatever that is. The time is now to think about it. And as a small shop, yeah, if if you're going to open a small business, I would say before you put that lifelong investment of money you've been saving, buy the building, buy retail space, buy it. Retail is going to be the killer of you because whenever you gain any kind of ground of success, which is not much in the cycling industry, you're going to lose it when you re-sign that lease. So anything you take away, if you're thinking about opening a bike shop, be a landlord first, then open the bike shop. The biggest shops I've worked with over the years owned all their own buildings, most of them. So that's the takeaway there. You watch me to relax, stress out. Well, misery loves company, right? I mean, come on, we're all been doing this. Some of us have been doing this for a long time, and they're like, man, yes, somebody gets me or validates my concerns and what I've been going through. And is it supposed to be this way? No, but it is, and that's what we're have to deal with. And a lot of us, if not all of us here, we like cycling bicycles, either working on them or the cool stuff or the new stuff or the old stuff or whatever niche you want to pick in. But we're all basic bottom line, we like bicycles. They're the coolest, most efficient machine on earth. And hey, the Wright brothers they came up with the airplane from their mechanical skills of working in a bike shop. I mean, who knows what the next generation or two will come up with? Some software engineer be like, I worked in the bike shop. There's a lot of celebrities that have worked in bike shops that have done really cool things. And whatever. It's a cultural environment that a lot of people enjoy and will continue to. And bike shops will always have a need. And unfortunately, there's some markets that just can't support what's already there, or the owners have been flipped around so much from everything, from the market, from the changing environment, to maybe a Walmart moved in next door, or their vendors have just totally crapped on them, or their lease is twice as much now because now they can charge more for it for some reason. It's a very tough environment for sure. And case in point, I read an article in Bicycle Retailer, and this has nothing really to do with the current state of the state, except for one thing that's really kind of it was just hit me weird reading it initially. And see if I can bring this up. And if you're a new bike shop, small bike shop, subscribe, get these guys to send you the paper copy of it. Where is it? Maybe it's under opinion piece. This is the guest editor. So this particular topic here, what he was talking about is make your vendors pay you to put their product on the floor. You may be in a bicycle retailer, you may have not any idea what the hell they're talking about. This is leveraged massively by the big shops, and mostly by like REI, Dick's Sporting Goods, Big Five Sporting Goods. They have such a huge volume of people coming in the store that the real estate inside the store is marketable to those brands. So they would go to the brands and say, hey, Coleman Coolers, if you want to have a camping weekend, the first thing all our customers come in and see, you're going to pay for this location and leverage that. And it's an interesting read because it really puts the bike. If you're a bike shop owner currently, read it and put comments below, and see what once after the feed here, if you're watching us on replay, because it's an interesting twist. You're actually basically leveraging the brands and saying, hey, no, I'm not going to buy everything under the sun. If you want to be in this market with the best bike mechanic or whatever your niche is for that particular brand, you're going to be basically paying me to do this. Okay, here's something I'm going to tell you, which blew my fucking mind. And this was over 10, 15 years ago. And this was the same piece that's being leveraged. I use the leverage word. Oh, you got me. That was being utilized by a shop in Michigan, and they did mostly service. And they were known to do service. They had 24-hour service, one price thing, crazy. And they'd work through the night pushing out bikes, mad volume for where they were at. Well, a bike company wanted to put bikes in there, and the guy's like, okay, I will bring in bikes. I'm not going to pay for them. I will pay for the ones that sell. In other words, if they sell, I will pay you when they are sold. And apparently this brand wanted that space so badly, they're like, okay. They brought in, a few bikes, and he only pays for the bikes after they've been sold. So there are some leverage pieces here. It may not be in your market. You may not be able to do it with the vendors you have, but it can be done, or has been done on a micro level. So think about that. Next time you're talking to your vendors and so forth, or a new vendor that wants to move in, like, that just makes no sense for me to just invest $30,000 in product that's going to sit there, maybe more than I may only get 2 turns out of the year. And you got to put on your inventory hat as much as you may not want to, because all you want to do is take care of customers and fix bikes. And then you have to do the inventory bit, and you got to leverage. You have to really work and take that position of your floor space that you pay for on a monthly base has a value to these vendors. The big guys are doing it. So why can't you? And why can't that be just, doesn't have to be my floor space, my garage? I just alluded to it earlier in this video. Hey, my learning center. That's a value prop for vendors, brands. What I can put in there, like, hey, I'm doing a video on a ultrasonic cleaner review, how it works, how you use on your parts, how you do that. Doesn't even have to be bikes. Nuts, right? So a bike shop can sell more than just bikes. Your brand could extend more than your 4 walls that you're living in. It could be just leveraged on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. I mean, I know there's a couple of people in my neck of the woods. I see their ads of doing tune-ups, and that's all they do is advertise off of Craigslist. And they sell a whole bunch of little used bikes, that kind of thing. When I say little, not little, a little lower price, that's what I meant. So they're actually utilizing that plant, and they're making decent money. They could be just some retired old coot like me in the garage doing their thing, and that's all they want to do. But there is opportunity to be able to having a bigger influence out there than what you think you already do. You are doing bigger and broader things, and potentially even more so than you think you can. And that could be a bike mechanic in the back listening to this going, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, it doesn't have to be your primary. I mean, or if you've been in industry and you're now working some for a tech company or working for the city or whatever, and you want to have like a little side gig, you can do this too as a side gig. I mean, it's very, I wouldn't say it's not lucrative, but it's very rewarding. And it's possible. You can do it. I mean, it's not one of those things you have to have a lot of um, checks in the boxes to open up. I mean, anybody can open up a bike shop, basically, literally across the street, out of their own garage too, and be my competition. But if they're doing the job right, I warmly embrace that. Like, hey, why not? It's supposed to be a community now. As bike shop people, it has to be. We can't be the complete cutthroat competitors of yesteryear, because that's what really damaged the cycling industry and brought out the elitism in the early 2000s. Well, through my view, my lens, that's what I remember. And that's putting 25 years on me. So, yeah, think about it. Any case, that's a little jive there. But yeah, I mean, if you're a bike shop, you don't get these already, get them. Get them sent to your shop, because there's a lot of articles inside the actual the print version that are not on their website. So you'll get some extra interviews and insights on that, which are sometimes pretty interesting. And they also have the marketing piece of, not marketing, the market piece of the industry. It's kind of always been interesting to see like all the numbers and how that's going to affect. How's it going to affect you in your world? It's a big world out there, people. Oh, man. Already pushing 2 hours. That's crazy. Thanks for hanging out with me. Yeah. Double checking any of these comments before I sign off here. Yeah, I don't know if it's small time. Yeah, Randy, you have a very good point. Oh, you've been in it for 20 years. Good for you, Randy. Yeah, I mean, when I worked at my parents' bike shop, I worked really hard. And what I'm doing now in the last 5 years, I work harder than I did then, but differently, if you know what I mean. It's different. It's not on my feet all day doing the same thing, because I do all of it. The YouTube channel, I do the editing, I do the marketing, I buy whatever I need to buy for parts, I take care of I do all of it. So I'm really kind of bled out in all different directions. But it's enough diversity throughout the day and day to day that I don't get burned out like I did burn out. There was a burnout, massive burnout. Well, why do you think I was in Big Five Sporting Goods for like 9 years? I took a little front end break, even though I did work out at the shops locally part-time, but I was no longer, I wasn't the boss. And I had to do all the responsibilities with a low lift, did the fun stuff, worked on stuff, and walked away. I didn't even deal with customers. I just came in early in the morning, worked on a whole bunch of bikes, and left before the store opened. That's what was the fun part. But there is a burnout for sure. And you work a lot of hours. Where does that translate? Hopefully you get something out of it, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, if you own your building, Randy, you did a great job. If you own your building, I know a lot of shops, even the smaller shops, if they own their own building, it gets really, really bad. You can split it, or at the end of the day, you close it and you still own the building. It's like, at least you still had something out of it. Our poor dad, when he passed away, we had nothing. We lost the shop, we lost everything. Well, the only thing he didn't lose was his memories. And other than that, it was horrible. So yeah, I mean, any retail, let's just put it that way. Any retail, if you're looking at any retail, I can probably close this out. Building, real estate. I mean, come on. It's like if you have 20, 30, 50,000, you might as well put that in the building first, because everything else you could you could do everything very cheaply. You don't have to buy the park tools, just to get something. You don't have to do. I mean, hell, there was a shop in Aurora, Colorado. They didn't have repair stands. They just had hooks on rope. That's how they worked on all their bikes. Like, they didn't buy the $600, $700 repair stands from Park. I mean, it's like there's ways you can do it, but if you're going to start a business, let's start about half the size you're thinking about initially, because it's going to be harder than you think. And second, end of the day, own your own building. And that doesn't have to be a retail front. There's several of these utility, it's like a oversized storage unit with a bathroom. And people use it for all sorts of things. They'll put their RVs in there. Some people live out of them part-time. I don't know. It's weird. But since the internet is so strong and you can do appointment-based business or even limited hours out of one of those construction, those like industrial park area, you can keep the cost down to the cost of a home versus really expensive real estate. And then you can leverage that and build upon it, that kind of thing. And people are, oddly enough, I thought this would be really a weird thing. Why people would they balk at the idea of it come to some guy's house to have him work on their bike? And it turns out a lot of people don't have a problem with that at all. So there you have it, people. I mean, you don't have to be. I mean, I did have grand ideas of maybe open up a shop again, or brick and mortar retail. After about a year of thinking about it and seeing, people going through those struggles like we did, I'm like, oh man, no. Keep the fire small and keep it containable, and try to, this way I can enjoy what I'm doing, because it's appointment based. Whatever you can fit it into your life. That's a huge factor of that. In any case, thanks for hanging out with me. 2 hours in, time for me to get some lunch. But yeah, if you're watching this on the replay, please comment below. This is a community. Check out this old bike. Please like and subscribe. I'm pushing up to 10,000 subs, so that really is actually giving me opportunities now, which oddly enough is weird. And it does make it takes you to make this channel. So thank you so much for being a part of this and helping me build this community. And any other topics that you want to bring up, talk about, that kind of thing, I either can bring it up on live, or we can do individual ones, smaller little videos to bring those insights to light. And again, every day is a learning experience. I'm learning something new all the time, and it's fun, and it's different perspectives and different parts and leveraging and all that. And what I know now, what I knew then, obviously it'd be a lot different turnout. But hey, at the end of the day, if you enjoy what you're doing and you're bringing something, positive light to your community, regardless of whatever you're doing, that's a win-win, right? Win-win for all of us. Well, keep the rubber side down, and if it's nice in your neck of the woods, please go for a ride. Yeah, thank you for supporting my channel. I do have my best picks on the Amazon store and the description below. But yeah, check out this old bike. Check out the Learning Center on my website. I will be adding to it, and really toying with the idea with you bike shop people out there. I'm really toying the idea of maybe making a online training of how to work on old stuff. Would that be something? Maybe, something a little more direct than just like the overview videos. Something like, how do you take apart a Ultegra railer? What's it compatible with? What's it work with? Maybe just part specific. And then to keep them really short, of course, have a library like that. So you too at the bike shop can leverage, like, how the hell did I work on this again? Well, let me watch this 3-minute video. Like, oh, maybe I learned something new, how to take apart that railer, or how to adjust it, or what it's compatible with, or what kind of tricks of the trade back in the day that we did just to get some of this crap to work, right? I mean, come on, some of you old timers out there really know that. Like, man, that's like, that knowledge is gold. when it comes to when you're in the heat of the moment trying to get that bike to work. That could be either make you the hero or the villain of that story, right? Any case, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage, or not inside because it's a little cold out. High of bustering 19 degrees today Fahrenheit. So yeah, anyway, any case, thanks again for hanging out with me. Thank you for making this channel what it is. And until next Tuesday, if it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, hey, it's Shop Talk Tuesday. Please join in the conversation. And until next time, have a wonderful day.